We procure fruit predominantly from South Africa, but also from other countries. Like just this week, we've got some Chinese grapes on the water, and we then export that fruit to probably on 48 countries now. In fact, I've lost count.
And if I'm not mistaken, you're the only employee of this company.
Every point of it, if I need someone, instead of me saying, who can I hire? I'll just find, how can I outsource it?
Your exitability right now is super difficult because you are the business.
Exactly. My right hand, which is my phone hand, is physically sore just from like typing consistently.
What were you selling at 7?
My dad had a business next to a toy store, so I would go buy like those laser pointers from them. I did a deal, got it at like close to cost, and then I'd go to school and then sell my mates.
At 7?
7 years old, yeah, I'm 23, 24. I was like just finishing university. I was like R1 million in debt. I need like $1 million to do this. It's like, I'm going to take you around. We jump in the car, we drive around, and like, he didn't give me an answer. And then as we drive, he's like, do you have a pen and paper? And I'm like, yeah. Okay, just like draw up something that says we're doing this together, and like, I'm giving you the money. And literally on a piece of paper, like just wrote something down, did it, and then got back to South Africa. And in like a couple of days, I had the money. He'd given me all the money I needed. And that was the first big thing.
Hello and welcome back to the Founder Files. Today I'm talking to Uzair Essack, who is the founder, the CEO, and the only employee of Riyp Fruit. Now I point that out because this man who's been listed on the Forbes 30 under 30 has built a business that exports fruits to over 48 countries. He doesn't even know what the number is now, but he's done it entirely by himself. So this is a guy that grew up in an entrepreneurial family, right? He had to sell to survive. As you'll hear in the story, he was selling at the age of 7. But the point of what we get into is just this incredible resilience, just stories about sales and grit and tenacity, but all these lessons around being in the right place, creating your opportunity, taking your chances, taking advantage of that, but also how he's been able to build a business of this scale essentially by himself. But not only that, he also owns coffee shops, he also owns Postnet, he's got a whole portfolio of businesses. This guy's incredible, right? He's built some amazing things, and this is just going to be his story that's going to inspire you to probably work a lot harder, to be a little bit more deliberate about your time, but also finish off with some personal hacks in terms of how he does this, how he buckets his decision making, how he manages his time. But I think the biggest thing that you're going to get from this is how this guy thinks around business, around sales, and it's made me think differently. I think it's going to make you think differently too. So yeah, if you're not following the podcast, then you're going to be missing epic stuff like this. So I suggest follow, subscribe now. But yeah, let's get straight into it. This guy's awesome. Welcome to the Founder Files, the podcast that's like eavesdropping on a conversation with a successful entrepreneur over a fireside chat. Join me, Cameron Coots, through this unique experience of unfiltered stories and insights from scaling founders around the globe as they share their ups, downs, and everything in between. Uzair, welcome to the Founder Files.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Honored to be here.
Dude, I'm honored to have you here. I think that when we first met at that Civitas fireside chat, your story was so inspiring. And I think for people that aren't like directly one of your stakeholders in business or like a friend or know you personally, I don't think a lot of people would know your story, but that's like why I wanted to put you on here, because it's an epic one, right? So everything from entrepreneurship to grit, resilience, and yeah, the fact that you're managing to run this enterprise solo, at least for now. So thank you for joining, and I can't wait to get your insights.
Yeah, only a pleasure. And I'm always happy to tell the story, hopefully to inspire more people. But maybe one day I'll write a book or make a movie. I don't know if it's worth that yet, but hopefully one day.
Well, I mean, being top 30 under 30 and having, already quite a few thousand followers on LinkedIn, you're on the right track there. And I think you will have a definitely a story to tell. But I guess just to start off on the business side and getting into like your business and level of scale, what is your business? What is Riyp as a company?
So my main business is Riyp. As we spoke about, I've got a few others, but the main business is Riyp. That's the one everyone wants to hear about. It's a fruit and vegetable export business. So we procure fruit predominantly from South Africa, but also from other countries. Like just this week, we've got some Chinese grapes on the water, and we then export that fruit to probably on 48 countries now. In fact, I've lost count. So yeah, it's all over the world, Africa, Asia, everywhere in between. So Europe, yeah. So that's what we do.
Cool. And if I'm not mistaken, you're the only employee of this company.
That's right. As it stands, that's going to change very soon, though, I hope. But yeah, as it stands, it's just me.
Okay. What role are you looking for? Who are you hiring, or who are you looking to hire?
I'm looking for basically a second me. So someone to do exactly what I do and just have two of us going at it. Yeah. I think in this business, the role is so diverse that it's difficult for me to say you need to do X, Y, or Z unless I start hiring much more people and being specific. But I think where we are now, all I have to do is add just a little bit more in terms of like one extra person, and I could potentially double revenue with just the one extra instead of doing a whole team. So if that person can be a very like well-rounded person, then yeah, it solves the issue.
Okay. I'm very tempted to get my org psych hat on and start unpacking that role and the personality traits and experience and knowledge levels that you need. But um, we'll park that for now. Um, but man, sounds like an exciting period. I think the fact that you've gotten to like 48 plus countries and now it's like, maybe I can't do this by myself anymore. So I just want to understand, like, I mean, obviously we'll get deeper into it and we'll get really into your story and founding story. But just for the short answer, like, how have you managed that? How have you managed to get a business of such scale uh, with you as the only employee? I mean, the short answer is obviously outsourcing, but like, unpack that for me.
Yes, I mean, there's no real playbook on how to do this, and I mean the business itself just goes day by day. And as I see, we need certain aspects and we need certain service providers. I find that. So
Example?
I mean, like we export fruit, so I need logistics. So instead of hiring a logistics person, I found a logistics company that basically would have, in essence, my logistics team in house with them. So that's one example. When it comes to like Forex, again, other companies have a CFO or financial manager. I just found a company that will manage all that Forex for me, all the documentation, all the due diligence that goes with the Forex. They just manage it for me. So like it's quite nice because I've simplified it and streamlined it. So if we loading a container of fruit tomorrow, I've done the deal with the customer and the buyer. All I do is send a WhatsApp to my service provider. We've got a group, and I'm like, we loading apples. This is where we're loading it from. This is what I want to load it on. Get it done, and my job's done. Everything else happens: the trucks, the bookings, the inspections, the shipping line. Everything from that point is taken care of without me being involved. Likewise with Forex, my service provider would reach out to me and be like, we've received X amount of dollars or X amount of pounds in your bank account. Can you please just let us know the basic information, which is generally what's the invoice number? So I provide that to them, and then they handle the rest, all the UCRs and whatever other due diligence has to be done. That's all with them.
But I just even love the way that you answered that question, because for you, like, the obvious answer would be not to hire someone. It's got to do with the fact that it's like, who else can I get to be able to do that? Because I imagine for like where my brain goes is like, okay, I've got an import export opportunity. I found someone who's got the fruit, and I think the first way that you start is like, got a potential client in this country that requires this kind of grape. Let's use that as an example. Um, I know a farmer in South Africa that can provide that grape. So I just need to make sure that that deal can happen, and they're doing the connection. And then, like, how my brain would work is like, sure, okay, do I have the big enough trucks, and do I have the right person that can go collect that, and like, how am I going to be able to do that, and how am I going to scale, like, because I'm going to make sure I need that capability, and then do I need warehouses, and do I need a cold chain, and then like, who's going to have those conversations? And for you, you didn't even begin that thinking. You're just like, sounds like I need a logistics company, and like, you just got one.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, I'll every point of it, if I need someone, instead of me saying who can I hire, I'll just find how can I outsource it. Now, obviously, outsourcing comes with its own pros and cons. It's maybe a little bit more expensive. Maybe you don't have control over the personnel that's actually doing the physical work. But I mean, I do the sum. Is it cheaper for me to hire a logistics person, deal with the HR component of it, pay salaries, deal with leave, all the challenges that come with hiring? Or do I just outsource that maybe at a fraction more, but I've eliminated 1,000 other stresses? So that's my thinking.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's essentially the core function of what it is that your business is, and we'll get into the details. I'm saying sorry to the audience because like I kind of know the story already,
Mhm.
but but we'll get into the details for your sake now. But really is the fact that it's you are you're like the perfect middleman connecting two people in two very different places, right? You have a person and like they have a market that has a need, and you're a deal maker, right? Like that's your job. Like once the deal's been made, then it's just everything else to execute to get the product from A to B. Like that's the stuff that just needs to happen in between. And I think at that level of thinking, it's quite simple. But where it's super complex is the fact that you've got like all these relationships and all these geographies and all these different suppliers and finding the right person. And it's like I know you're on your phone all the time, but it's like I understand why.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I literally have to have two phones because if the one battery dies, the other one needs to get going. And I probably charge both of them like 2 or 3 times a day because they're just on consistently. In fact, like we're in peak season now. So I'm literally just pushing as hard as possible. My right hand, which is my phone hand, is physically sore just from like typing consistently. And that's why I'm at the point now where I'm like, look, I need to just hand over a little bit and maybe get some staff to help me. And like I said, maybe the one staff, but yeah, I need to let go a bit, I think.
Yeah. No, I think it's you're at the point of being the bottleneck, right? And like I could easily hypothesize and make some assumptions about what that bottleneck is, but what is the bottleneck that you're experiencing now?
I think it's purely just time that I have. So I mean, we shipping X amount of cartons this year, and I'm just about managing it. If I'm gonna ship one more box, I'm probably gonna collapse because it's just gonna be too much, you know. So for me to have that growth and ship more fruit, I'm gonna need someone else to come in and help.
Okay, so you really have hit your absolute limit of how far this business can grow just on you.
I think so. I mean, I could push a bit harder. Every year I say the same thing, and I'm like, I'm at the edge, and then the next year we double up, and like this year again is going to be probably 150% on last year, and every year I just manage to do it on myself, and I'm knackered. I mean, like I get to a Friday night, and like last Friday I was hanging out with some family, and I was trying to say a certain word and I just couldn't say it. And it's a simple word. And I mean, I'm not a stupid person, but my brain was just completely fried, you know? Um,
Do you remember what the word was?
it was maple syrup. And I just couldn't say it. I was saying like the dumbest things. And I was like, why can I not just get this word? And I mean, I also tell my wife, so it comes to like the weekend and like we're gonna eat out or we're gonna do something, and she's like, "Okay, you decide." And I tell her, and it's not a fight, but we have this thing, and I'm like, "Please, when it comes to the weekend, and I ask you what you want to do, don't make me make a decision.
Yeah.
Like even if it has to do with me, you just decide because by then I have such fatigue from all the decisions I'm making in the week. Like you just decide everything. I'm gonna experience like a zombie and go with what you want."
I get you. Yeah, so I think yeah, that's the limit. Hey, is you can only get so far. Yeah, cool, man. I want to get into a lot more of the practical detail. Because I think even with that, is you've got people that will have a tenth of the size of your business, but also still struggle with the same kind of decision fatigue. So I really want to get into just the thinking around like how you're able to be so productive in your business. But I think before even getting there, just to set the scene of your like original story, like how you kind of got started in this business. And yeah, tell me about your foray into entrepreneurship and how Riyp was born.
Yeah, so I mean, I've always been an entrepreneur. My father, his father before him. I mean, there's no one in my bloodline that's been a professional. They've all just been business people. So it was the natural step. I'm fortunate to be the first one in my bloodline with a formal education and a tertiary degree. But I always knew that my passion was not to work for someone else. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just not what my passion is. So yeah, I was selling things from the age of 7, doing deals at school with mates, whatever, and kind of one business
What were you selling at 7?
uh, pirated like CDs. I'd like burn music onto CDs and sell that. I My dad had a business next to a toy store, so I would go buy like those laser pointers from them, and then I did a deal, got it at like close to cost, and then I'd go to school and then sell my mates like
At 7?
at 7 years old, yeah, and then sell my mates
That's
all these
yes, you're cutting deals.
pointers.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like I said, I think it's just natural because I've always like grown up in like my dad's shops or my grandfather's businesses, and like I've always just it's all I know. So yeah, I'm like, okay, cool. Like they asking so and so for a discount because they're buying 10 units. Let me go to this toy store and ask them if I buy 10 units, will they give me a good price? And then I saved up some money, bought some like laser pointers, took it to my friends, sold it, made a margin. I'm like, cool, rinse and repeat. And as I grew older, the businesses got bigger and more complex and so on and so forth. And then yeah, when I was in university, I had another business and I met someone who had a contact in Saudi Arabia who wanted pineapples. Again, did the hustling and
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna. I know I asked the question of like how Ripe was born. This is where I really want to slow you down because like giving some because like dude, the story is too epic to speed through. Um, what I'm super curious is the fact that like when you're selling laser pointers and cutting deals at the age of 7, I'm just imagining a 7-year-old saying to me like. And in a confident way, not like actually, hey, can I get a discount? I was like, hey, I'm buying 10 of these. Can I get a discount? I'd be like, whoa, of course we can. But just because you're, especially because you're just 7, like that, I'm amazed. What I want to know is like what your business was, what business you had at 14, if that like if that's what your business was at 7.
14, where would I be at 14? 14 would be kind of grade 9. Um, my dad at the time had a shoe store, like a sneaker store. So I was kind of just reselling sneakers that he had. But I mean, there was so much. I mean, I was also like throughout high school, I was like throwing parties and selling tickets to those parties and making a margin, like going to the club owner at like a young age and being like, hey, can we do like an under 18 party? I'll facilitate everything. I'll get the DJ. I'll do the flyers. I'll do the marketing. You're going to get people in your club on like a shitty day, for example. So he was happy with that. I mean, religiously, it wasn't the right thing to do because of my religion, but yeah, I mean, there was lots of things like throughout the entire process. I can't even remember all of them. The 7-year-old one I can because I think that was like the start. But I mean, even like I mentioned in Civitas, like at campus, I was selling like branded caps, for example. But there's so much more. Whatever comes on my table, I'm gonna try.
Yeah, I think the point in that was you weren't really thinking about building a business. Or you would just supply and demand, right? It's like, oh, like people want some caps, I can go make that happen. People complain that they don't have a party, I'm gonna start a party. The moment like I can imagine like the moment you hear someone say, oh, I need that or I wish I had that, is like I'm gonna go make that happen.
That's 100% spot on, and I also think it's something else I mentioned when you heard my story the first time is I didn't come from the most well-off background, but my parents sacrificed to put me in a like very exclusive private school. So it was me, this kind of poor guy, with all these other rich kids, and like they all getting tons of pocket money, going out on the weekend, enjoying themselves, and I'm like, cool. I understand I can't get it from my parents. They're already trying their best just to have me here. I need to hustle and do this for myself. Like if we going out for the weekend and going to watch a movie and going for dinner, like I can't afford that based on my small allowance that my parents give me. So either I sit at home and I had FOMO, so I was like, there's no chance, or I make some money so that I go with them. So yeah, that's kind of how it was.
Yeah, 100%, man. So I think from where I remember the story getting really super interesting, and when I was on the edge of my seats, is when you started talking about obviously transitioning from school to university, and that's when you were like properly out there, and your parents had like had funded you the best that they could in terms of being able to just get the university education that you had, and they basically dropped you off. And what was it like? Here's $500 and like good luck.
Yeah,
We got you. We got you back.
that's pretty much how it was. Look, I mean, I they my mom brought me to Cape Town to UCT. I stayed in Res. She helped me set up, bought me like a fan and a microwave and whatever else. And then they were like, here's a little bit of pocket money, like all the best. Yes, there were times where they gave me money here and there, but I think that was when when my family had the hardest financial period. So getting money in that period was like very difficult. So I kind of knew I can't have the reliance on them then, although they did try obviously to give me as much as possible, but it was so like infrequent. It was like there was no reliance on it. So I had to make a plan, and like otherwise you're just not going to eat. You know, it's not even like I'm not going to go out with my friends. It's like literally you won't survive.
Yeah, man. No, I mean, to be totally candid and transparent here, I had very different like experience. Like I went to Hilton College. I came from a very like financially privileged background, and when I was in university, I was wanted to go to this party for this weekend, and I'd already spent the extra money I'd been given. So I phoned my grandfather and be like, "Hey, can I have some extra money for this like party?" He was like, "No, go get a job," and I'm like, fair enough, right? It's the very fair answer. Like, cool, I'll go get a job and I'll pay that. And I started off in hospitality and I kind of started working there, but it was just to I didn't have the same pressure of just being able to I have to be able to put money on the table. And I also didn't have the skill sets or the experience that you did. I was like just okay, I'm learning to do this and I go work for someone and that just ended up becoming the next point. But for you, like you ever since 7 years old, it's like if I like because you can't get a job when you're seven either, now that I think about it. So it's like if I want money, like I would have to sell someone something because like they're like no, I'm they're the most unemployable thing ever. Um,
So I did like also work like at my dad or grandparents' shops, and for like a little bit of pocket money. But it's not like you can't. You're right. You can't get like a formal job, you know. But yeah, like I said, any option to try and earn money, I took it.
yeah, and I just it's again the what's the first thought that goes through your mind when when you need cash, especially when you've had a lot provided for you, is like I need a job. When you're there working in a business with entrepreneurs, this is what your entire family is doing. And like with them, if they're sitting at the table and saying, "Hey, we need more money," what do we do is like we figure out how we can sell more. And so like it's that's just kind of ingrained in the basis of how you thought. And I just want to like obviously cement that lesson because that's the principle that got you to where you are now. You just ended up focusing in one specific industry for it.
Exactly, and I mean that's also with like the other businesses. So I mean, I had Riyp, and then like I got married, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have a child soon, and I'm gonna have more expenses. So yes, I need to grow the business Riyp, but let me also diversify, and that's when I got into like the coffee shop franchises and the Postnet franchises and the properties and whatever else. Because again, that's the mindset. Like you need more, you need to do more, you need to earn more. It's not like I need to change my job now and get a higher salary. It's yeah, how can I get more income and from different sources?
Yeah, no, spot on. All right, so talk to me about this. The being dropped off at university. What were the first like? Yeah, I want to know a bit more of the story up until the pineapple opportunity. Yeah. So what happened between first day of university and then?
Yeah, so I guess first day of university just didn't go, if I'm being honest with you. Um, I mentioned at Civitas also, I think I hold the record for the longest it is to finish a BCom degree. Started with actuarial science, like on day one when my mom was still there, went in for like 40 minutes. I was like, not for me. I'm not going to be doing this. Got no time for this. She was very pissed off. She's like, that's the only reason we sent you here was because I was going to tell people like my son's an actuary. And, especially like in Indian families. Like, I mean, another funny story when like we were applying for university, like in grade 11 with like your prelim or whatever results, like my mom would do my application and she would like apply for medicine. And I like found the application forms and I was like, what the fuck? I'm not going to be a doctor. And she's like, yes, you are. Like, that's what like families want. And I was like, there's zero chance I'm going to be a doctor. It's just not for me. So that's kind of like the pressure I had. And again, I get it. Like my parents tried their absolute best to give me the best education and I owe them for that. But yeah, then I was like, I'm not going to do this. Then it was like, okay, do engineering. Then same story. I was like, there's no ways I'm doing civil engineering and learning about like all of that. Not for me. And then she's like, okay, you either doing business science, you coming home. So did that, ended up getting excluded, A, because yes, I was messing around. But B, also because like when you struggling financially, my priority wasn't when is my tests, what assignment do I have to do? It was how am I going to survive? So that was like on the back foot. Again, I'm not blaming that completely. I also was messing around like I guess any youngster was. So yeah, and then like fell in hard times then, like had accounts with the cafeteria just to get food. I love those ladies. I pray for them every day. Like they really helped me out. When I had money, I'd go and pay them back. Had a very good friend who was like a brother to me who was in a similar situation. So we were kind of going through that together and like hustling. And he was very different. Like he still graduated well and got his results and like kudos to him, he's got a great job now. And I just went on the other path, which was like the entrepreneurial one. And yeah, like I said, just hustling whatever I could, whatever was possible to make money was happening. And like I said, you just take opportunity after opportunity until I found this opportunity on the fruit. And I was like, this is the one I can go with for a while. I mean, I might have eventually found something better than it, and I would have probably moved on to that also. But yeah, this was just growing so well, and it was just working so well that up until today, I haven't found anything to replace it. But maybe that is the case. Maybe I exit from here because there's something else one day. We just have to see.
Yeah, well, I think the your exitability right now is super difficult because you are the business.
Exactly.
So that's the next challenge, is that if you want to think about exit, then there's an entirely different pathway there strategy wise. But I wanna put the pieces together because I know that there's really things start taking off quite literally when you fly to Qatar. But I want to know this. Still give me some detail about this pineapple opportunity, and then paint a picture of that chapter for between pineapple and then like I'm booking a flight to Qatar. Like I want to know that part of the story.
Yeah. So, like while at university, like I said, just trying to hustle, do whatever's possible, do sell whatever's possible. Like if someone came to me at that time and was like, "You need to sell horse manure and it's going to make you money," I would have grabbed it with both hands and sold it. So yeah, I was like, again, doing some stuff with parties at university. I was selling branded caps also. Again, it just kind of leads one to another. And I don't know how the rice thing came about. I can't even remember. And I think there was someone else uh, whose dad's business was like distributing to all these wholesalers. And then I was like, we can maybe do something else. And then I had a guy who had rice. Like, again, it's a bit blurry then. But yeah, at one stage I was importing rice from Pakistan and India and then distributing that to like your informal supermarkets, to like your restaurants. I mean, I was eating at a place called Food Inn every night for like 2 years. I was eating dinner there because it was like the cheapest. So I got talking to the people there, and I noticed.
The portion size is also huge as well. So yeah,
Ex-
you were saving twice.
Exactly. So for me, it was like, here I can spend the least amount of money and get the most return. And then I literally went there every day for like 2 years, and eventually like ended up making friends with like the owner because I was there, and then noticed that like rice, they were using tons of it. So I was like, maybe I can try get them a better deal and sell them some rice. So like that was one of it. So yeah, and then there was a guy doing deliveries for me, and he had a contact in, I think it was his cousin or something in Saudi Arabia, who had heard that South Africa has good fruit. And yeah, he then asked me to trial some like pineapples for him. So hustled around again. There's no method to it. There's no steps. I can't tell you these were the steps I took. You just make it happen. And
Yeah. For the record, that's why I love this part of the story, is because like um again, there are frameworks, there are methodologies, there are ways of thinking about business, but like and these things apply when you're at a certain level of scale, you're a certain level of traction, when you've got an established business model. I think the point there is, it's like this is just selling. This is the and the, but this is the fundamental basis of, like, if I give philosophical about really what business is business is solving a need and then getting paid for the solving that need. That's all it really is at its most fundamental level. And for you, operating in that, as every business, every opportunity is theirs, because you're constantly seeing, spotting what needs are there and how is it that I can go about solving that. Until you start solving the same need repeatedly, it's not a business yet.
100%. And yes, so that's what it was, an inquiry, doing it or solving the problem or whatever. And like I said, there was no limitations. Like, I mean, it didn't have to be uh, an exciting business, or it didn't have to be a popular business. As long as it turned revenue and made a profit, I was looking at it. And then, yeah, after a couple of the pineapple deals, I was in like my final year or second last year of university. And I thought, this is a good business. I'm earning in foreign currency. I'm dealing in fruit. I love fruit. Like, thinking a bit longer term, I was like, the world's on this kind of healthier buzz. So, fruit demand is probably on the rise. So there's a few positives for me there. And I thought, like, this is maybe something I can start like really focusing on. So I did a few deals, saved some money in that last year and a half, say, of university. And then when I was finished, I knew I wasn't going to work for someone. So I used that money to then well, I first did some research and I was like, which countries export or import the most fruit from South Africa? So it was like the UK and the Middle East were two that I picked up on. And I was like, okay, the Middle East is not too hard to travel to. There's like a direct flight there. It's only 9 hours. The tickets are not too bad, like on Emirates. I was like, cool, let's go to Dubai and start like going door to door and hustling and trying to find customers. The UK worked because I have some family in the UK. So it's like, this one's nice because I've got less expenses. I can go stay with them for a little bit and like kind of hustle from there. I'd be looked after. So went to those countries, kind of cold called, cold emailed, went door to door, find some customers in both of those countries, then started learning, okay, what do you want in terms of fruit? Okay, this is what you want. This is the spec that you want. This is the timing that you want it. So I just learned the customer, learned the market. And then when I came back, then I was like, okay, this is the fruit I need to procure. Cool. Let's research. Where are the best apples in South Africa? Where does the best citrus come from? Who has the earliest citrus? Who has the best pricing on citrus? And then went to visit all these farmers and then try and put two and two together. That's basically what it was.
Quick one while I've got you. You're clearly here for the inspiration and the insights, but if you want to turn insight into action, I built a tool called the Founder Roadmap of all the insights I've gotten from everyone I've interviewed on the podcast and all the founders that I've worked with, and from the methodology that we use from my business partner, Nick Frangos, you're going to be hearing from soon on the podcast. And yeah, I built that into a tool that you can use. So you can spot exactly where the leaks are in your business. In terms of your scaling journey, you can benchmark yourself on the practical successes and the practical things that are working best in people's businesses, about how they've built their strategy, about how they've put together their resources, their structure, how well they're executing. So you can get, a bit of perspective and sense and like validation, like what's working well, where are the gaps, what is it that I need to prioritize now? Because every epic CEO and founder I've ever met always wants to figure out and learn what the gaps are between good and great. So I've built an assessment that's going to show you those gaps, but also provide you some battle-tested next moves and suggestions so that you can think about what you can implement over the next 90 days. And it's also an interactive tool builder, so you can actually build that roadmap quickly and then be able to share that with your team. Right, so if you want to get a bit of a quick assessment and scorecard of where you're at in your business and where some gaps might be and where you can improve, it's going to take you about 8 minutes to do the assessment and about another 15 to do the whole thing end to end. There's no email, there's no sign up, it's totally free. And I'm not trying to build a list, I'm really just trying to add value. So if you want to do that now and turn those insights into action, you've got the link below, right? It's roadmap.metavolve.co, and there's the link in the description below as well. So click on that, have a look, and enjoy, right? And give me feedback if you like it. But let's get back. Before you even continue, is like you mentioned, there's no like methodology or playbook to it. Like that is actually like startup methodology. But the problem is the fact that like the reason why it's so simple is it's grained in the point of you never really cared about the product until you had a customer. When you had a potential customer, then you cared about the product, about what is it that's gonna like get them what they need, and what is it that they need so that they're gonna be happy. Because it's not just gonna be citrus, it's not just oranges. Oranges are not oranges. And the point is, what kind of oranges are they gonna need? Because that's because you knew a bit better at this point that I can't like, hey, you need oranges. I'm gonna find a farmer, and they were like, don't waste my time. I need a lot more than that, and I need a lot better quality. But I think that the problem that, and I've been guilty of this as well, is that you get super excited as a person about a thing that you're passionate about. Like I care about this product or this piece of technology, and I think it can do this, but then no one cares, right? And versus for you is like you never had a thing that you cared about except for quite literally surviving and putting money on the table. And so for you within that constraint, it was just entirely orientated around spotting, and that was ingrained in a really early stage. Clearly, is the fact that it's like you're constantly biased to what do people need, where is their demand, and then from there is it's like, because you've already grounded it in terms of the customer, what's their demand, what are their requirements, meaning a product to them. That is unfortunately with a lot of like startup entrepreneurs, and actually like quite particularly in the tech space, because they'll build like a tech product and get super excited about it, but then only later go and then figure out, well, who's actually a potential customer, what do they care about, what do they need, and then go back to products. For you, it went the way that it should, and because we have businesses because we have customers and because we meet their needs and add value to them. Like that's it at the end of the day. And again, the reason why I'm so pumped about this conversation is because it's actually quite simple in that sense, but we overcomplicate the hell out of it.
Yeah, I think again, and also like the businesses I grew up in was a simple shop. It was a retail counter shop, and I think that's where you learn the fundamentals of business, which is ultimately buying and selling. Doesn't matter if you have a huge corporate company or a big technology company. One person buys, one person sells, and when you are on the ground and you're dealing with the rands and cents of it, that's where you learn the fundamentals of it. And I think that was the perfect kind of school for me.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's another fundamental capability there is that if you can sell, like that's the main thing that's going to be needed in business at the end of the day. Like, because you can get a person that's amazing at selling. Throw them any business and any business model, they'll be able to make it grow. Because essentially, it's that skill set of like, how do I have a conversation with the customer? How do I figure out what they need and then give the solution to them? Negotiation and stuff like that can come later and closing, but it's the first conversation of it's not about the product. It's actually about you and what is that you want.
100%.
So, um, okay, let's go back to that. You're now back in South Africa. You're looking for a supplier, found a supplier for this opportunity overseas. What happened? I know this wasn't all sunshine and roses.
Yes, I mean, after like traveling and getting the customer and trying to look for suppliers, it wasn't that easy because, I needed funding to send the fruit. The farmers also come from a very old industry. Uh, the Afrikaans farmers are quite traditional in their ways. They already had, if I can call it, service providers exporting their fruit. So the doors weren't like just flung open for me to get involved in the business. I mean, till today, if I can say quite frankly, it's quite a closed business and they don't want more new people in, especially people of color. I mean, that's just calling a spade a spade. So there was always challenges and I had to build from there slowly but surely. So it was still on hard times then because the deals weren't frequent. I mean, these days we shipping containers every single day, sometimes tens of containers a day. Back then I would be lucky to get a deal a month, and like the margins aren't huge. So it was still difficult for me to make sure that I'm living and surviving and earning money. So it wasn't all sunshine and roses initially. It took a long time before the real money came in because as I was more developed in the industry, as my name was getting out more and more farmers started to trust me and we started expanding to more and more markets, that's when, it became profitable. But up until that point, getting fruit was difficult. Getting the buyers on the other side to choose me as their number one supplier was difficult. Again, I wasn't doing anything new. I was coming into an established industry and I needed to make a place for myself within it.
Yeah. So what I want to know now is how you got your first supplier because and also just that again that first deal because that's the point of you secured someone's trust enough to be able to say like, hey, okay, cool, I'm going to trust you to go back to South Africa and find the produce that I'm looking for. Um, and then after that, it's like, okay, cool. Now I'm this person that's first time in this industry that we don't have a relationship. You've already got someone that you are already selling to. And the funny going back to the simple thing about buying and selling, this is where it is simple, but it can be quite complex because now it's like, well, I'm going to be a customer of yours. Like I'm going to take your fruit and I'm going to sell it. Like, and I'm going to buy it as well. Like, so like, surely it's not that complicated, but there's still trust, there's still a relationship, and it's and because people get screwed in business all the time.
Yeah, so pretty much everyone I went to said no because they were like, we already have people exporting our fruit. So then I had to realize what can I do differently than the current exporters, which is my competition. So I started learning like what are the payment terms, for example, that these farmers are getting. And I learned that like most of the time fruit was sold on consignment. So the farmer A didn't know exactly what he was getting when the fruit left his farm. And B, he waited a long time for that money, 60 days, 90 days, it all depends. So that's when I was like, if I want to get the fruit from this farmer, let me offer him a better deal because sometimes he was being promised, for example, 100 rand a box when the exporter took the fruit. But for whatever reason, fruit getting delayed, market conditions, I mean, whatever excuse these guys could come up with, when the farmer finally got paid, he only got paid 50 bucks. Now, you as a farmer, you have all your expenses, you budgeting, you need X amount for your crop and your yield, and you're just not getting that. And then I thought to myself, other exporters have kind of no risk then. If they can just take fruit, sell it on a consignment basis, take a percentage, and then give the farmer the balance. What are they actually doing? There's no value there. Anyone can do that. So let me put my balls on the line and let me go to the farmer and tell him, I'll give you X amount today in cash on your farm. So when you sleep tonight, you know the money's already in your bank account and you're not playing this game of how much am I getting and when am I getting it. And that's
Can I get that X amount in a percentage, or does it depend?
what do you mean? Sorry.
As in, like, what's your kind of policy now? So obviously, the way the market's traditionally working is selling it on consignment, and now how you're going to reach your competition is the fact that I'm going to give you X amount of cash now. Do you have a percentage?
No, we're going to give them a fixed price. So based on what the market conditions are, and say Dubai, I'm speaking to my guys in all these countries, and I'm like, how much do you think we can pay for a box of fruit landed, working it back, bringing it to a farm level, and then saying, okay. And I mean, there's still a risk on that because I could have been overpaying or underpaying, but then that's the risk I was taking. But for the farmer, he's getting money in the bank today and he knows what he's getting versus playing this guessing game with the other exporters later on. That's why my competition hates me, because now farmers are kind of expecting more and more of that than, and I mean, myself to the farmer is saying, you farming, you have the risk of the climate, you have the risk of the labor, you have all this hard work that you're putting into your crop.
You have no cash flow
If
because
no,
you get paid like once a year.
why are you still the one that has to bear all the risk of moving this fruit to this market? What does the exporter do then? The exporter is
And
literally
the farmer's saying, exactly, I know.
exactly that's exactly it. So then they liked my model, and then more and more farmers started opening doors. Again, some of them not really, again, the older generation, they're not really keen to try new things. They were happy with what they were doing and they were going to continue with that. But yeah, that's how I kind of got more and more doors to open, because I had to change the model of like what the majority of the industry was doing.
Yeah, so I remember there was also another story that you mentioned like later on in the journey, and I just want to kind of piece this together into like your value proposition, your like pricing model, uh, because you got some pushback from someone once where because you said, hey, let's go have a meeting. It was a new prospective client, or sorry, new prospective supplier, and you said let's have a meeting at a coffee shop, and they were like, sorry, you don't have offices, like that's super unprofessional. But without taking the words out of your mouth, it was like obviously you gave a very simple response to him, and he was like, "Can't argue with that." What was your response?
So yes, asked this guy to meet, and he was like, "Okay, cool. Where's your offices? I'm coming through to Cape Town." He's coming from one of these farming towns in the Western Cape. So I was like, "No, I'll meet you here." And he's like, "No, no, I want to come and see your offices." And then I was like, "I don't have offices." And he's like, "But what do you mean? Like you're supposed to be a company and a business. What do you mean you don't have offices?" And I was like, "I don't." And then eventually he agreed to meet me. And I explained to him, and I was like, if I have offices and staff and everything else, I'm going to have a lot of expenses, which means when I'm making money selling the fruit, I need to make a bit of a higher margin to pay for everything. But if I don't have offices and I don't have staff, then I don't need as much money to keep the business afloat. So at the end of the day, I'm selling your fruit, and the space between yourself and the end user is a certain percentage. Let's call it 10%. If I have all these expenses, I need to maybe make 7, 8% and give you 2%. But if I don't have all these expenses, I can make 2% and give you the 8%. So that way you get a better return on your crop and on your yield. It makes your farm more profitable. And it was like, it makes sense. And a lot of farmers now, when I speak to them about it, they also like are agreeing with that. And they're like, it makes complete sense. And I mean, even if I get staff now, we live in a world, COVID has proven it, where you don't need to be in person all the time. You can do it remotely. I think that's the way forward. Maybe it changes and one day we need staff and we need to all be together. But as it stands for now, I don't think I need that.
Yeah, no, and I fully agree. But also at the same point is like if you did get that, it's now you're gonna have to rethink your business model, especially when the cost point gets there. Because now how you're competing is obviously twofold. Is one, you're able to outcompete your competitors on cost because if they had to meet your price, then they're going to be making no margin, right? Or maybe a tiny one that makes it not necessarily worth it. But then on top of that, where they're going to be doing it on consignment and still all the risk still sits on the farmer, you're not de-risking the deal for the farmer. And so what I'm curious about there is it's like obviously where does the kind of almost the total price, the total value come down to the farmer? Is that like for like on the competitor, would they actually make or might be giving away a secret sauce here, so you can choose not to answer this. But like, are they actually in total making less money with you, but they're willing to do that for the lowered risk of being paid a lot upfront, and then you're also still able to manage your price? Or do they actually in total make more money with you, um, and you're actually inflating their price at the same time? Like, am I making sense?
Yeah, of course, but I think it's a bit of both. So it depends a lot on a lot of factors. And we again can't only look at the microeconomics of it because we're in a global industry. So like the fruit price is a market price. So it's determined similarly to like how the fuel price is or what the gold price is, what the Bitcoin price is. It's all based on supply and demand, right? So likewise with fruit, if our competitors, which might be Egypt on citrus or Peru on blueberries, have a big season and have a lot of volume, then there's a lot of fruit out there. So demand globally is less. But if they have a difficult season, there's not a lot of fruit out there. So demand globally is high, which means obviously higher prices. So in certain seasons, when maybe there's uncertainty on the market and how strong the market is, they might be willing to accept less money because they're getting security that they're getting X amount today. But in other seasons, they know they may be in the driver's seat because they've got a fruit that's in demand. So there they might be making more money on me versus selling it to the market. So it all depends. It's a very dynamic, business in terms of pricing. I mean, even with us, I don't have a set percentage that I add. Like certain businesses, like a restaurant might work on, we need to make 100% or 30% or whatever. For me, every deal, every market, every piece of fruit, every destination has its own dynamics. And I have to just be dynamic in terms of my costing and everything else to see how we can make it work.
So that's also the complexity of your businesses, because every deal is different and you're constantly deal making. Because yeah, to that point is it's if there's thinking about it through commodities, if the market's obviously oversaturated, then the person sitting there's like, I actually just want to get rid of the stuff, but like before, like so I can actually get paid, and before it goes off, and I actually can't sell it, and then I've like, and now I'm in the hole, right? But the point is, it's like if you're there, it's like I'll take what price I can get. Versus, if there's been, like you said, a massive shortage of fruit or a massive demand from a certain region and area, then it's about the point is like, I'm going to take the best deal I can get within a specific time period. And, I'm going to have a lot more leverage. So it's interesting because you can have the exact relationship with the exact same person, but this year that deal looks very different to next year.
Exactly. And it happens on both sides with the customer and with the farmer. So yeah, it all depends. So like I said, it's a very dynamic business, which I enjoy because there's no 2 days that are the same.
So yeah, so that's the fascinating part of it. I still want to go back to that first deal, that first connection between an overseas client, an overseas customer, a local supplier, and how that happened. Yeah.
So the very first deal, which was like container loads, which was like 20 plus tons of fruit, was with a certain customer in a certain country, and they placed the order for like 3 orange containers. I think it was. This was like 2015, 2016, if I can recall, somewhere around there. And I was like super excited because it's my first big order, and I was like, cool. I need to find the farmer. So eventually found a farmer, and he's like, okay, I'll give you the fruit, but you need to pay me upfront for it based on like this model we were speaking about. And I was like, okay. And obviously I didn't have money because that's like $1 million, for example. And I went to some of my mates at UCT who were like well off. And I was like, guys, I've been doing this, it's been working. Don't you want to find me? I'll give you a return. This is how the numbers
How old are you at the time? Just out of context.
in 2025, like 24, 25, somewhere there.
Yeah. How old are you now? Just
30.
just
So I was
cool.
younger, actually. I was 23.
Yeah. Not because I care how old you are. It's just relevant to the story, and just like it's like, again, you're a 7-year-old selling lasers, and now you're like you're 23-year-old with an import export business. Continue.
Yeah. So then I went to these mates and I was like, don't you want to find me? And like some of them said no. I got 3 of them to say yes. And 3 of them gave me money to do this deal. Managed to do the deal, got the fruit, exported it, got to the customer. And customer's supposed to pay me after X amount of days. And again, like I think we learn in business every single day. So I was quite naive in certain aspects of it. And it's fine. It's part of the journey. And the customer just didn't pay me. They just basically disappeared off the face of the earth. So at 23 or
And they got all their fruits.
gone. So at that young age, I don't know the exact age, but like 23, 24, I was like just finishing university. I was like R1 million in debt. And I was like, I'm fucked. That's the bottom line. I don't know what to do. Like literally suicidal thoughts, like had no idea where to turn. And like I remember I like hid myself in like my apartment for like a week. And I was like, I just don't know what I'm going to do. How am I going to face everyone? You know, I've taken my friends' money. They trusted me and got the courage, went to them, and I was like, look, this is the reality of the situation. The money's gone. I didn't take it. I didn't steal it, but it's lost. And I'm so grateful for all of them. They were all like, look, we understand. We know you've got a bright future. We have faith in you. Like, pay us back when you can. No interest. Like, when you have the money, we know you'll give it back to us. Again, for them, like each of them giving me like 200K, like they're very, very wealthy guys. It wasn't going to like hurt them. And like a few years later, I paid all of them back in full. So I'm obviously very grateful after I did like more and more deals. But yeah, that was the reality of it. And at that point, I was like, I'm basically screwed. And then that's when the kind of Qatar opportunity that you keep bringing up comes in. So yeah, I'm assuming you want me to elaborate more on that one.
Yeah, so you're right. I would like to hear the story of Qatar. Well, actually, no. I think before getting to the story of Qatar, like, how did you just pick yourself back up off your feet? I mean, like, you you're already a person that's highly resilient. You've already been just knocked like left, right, and center, and you've already got all the entrepreneur scars in your early 20s. And now you'd like this is a death blow, right? Like quite literally and morbidly, because like you like as you said, you were contemplating suicide. And so yeah, I just like, how did you pick yourself up from that? It's like, and what was like the first like step that you did to just get back on your feet and rebuild some momentum?
So I think the first step was approaching the investors or my friends at the time and like owning up to what had happened and being like, this is the problem. And like my biggest fear was facing them and not knowing what the consequences were. But when I had that bit of leeway, if I can call it that, from them, that's where I kind of was like, okay, it's obviously a massive fuck up, but I'm not under as much pressure as I think I am. You know, the main people, the guys I have to answer to, which is guys whose money I took, they are a little bit more relaxed about it, if I can put it that way.
So on that note, is I've spoken to so many investors, and one of their one thing they struggle with, because they think they have great relationships with the CEOs that they invest in, but then the number of times that they'll say is like I wish you told me this 3 months earlier, right? Like I wish you told me this problem, because then I could have helped you, but now like I can't. But I also get it from an entrepreneur's perspective. Is like, you've backed me, and I don't want to come to you like say sorry, I lost all your money, right? And like but the reality is that we forget that these are also human beings, and they say it's like, listen, I understand, and like often I like, yes, I might be backing your business, but I was actually backing you, and I know that you'll figure it out, and like I can help you figure out a solution. I might not give you more money, but like I can still help you solve this.
Well, that's one of the lessons I learned early on, which I'm grateful for, which I've taken through to my whole life, is that if there's a mess up, deal with it then and there, own up to it then and there, tell the stakeholders who are involved in the mess up then and there. There's no point in delaying it. Yes, you might get backlash, you might be suffering consequences, but yeah, I'd rather deal with it right now than wait. And I mean, it happens still today. Like for example, the logistics company makes a mistake and they load the fruit on the wrong vessel or something, and then I have to go to the client and say, look, this is a problem. You were expecting this on this date. It's not happening. And I could easily like just wait and delay it and wait till the last minute and try and make some excuse. But I've just learned I'd rather just be honest and like, what's the worst that's going to happen to me? I'm not going to die. So if that's the case, then I can find a solution to it. And if it means a discount, or if it means this, or if it means taking it to another country, like we'll figure it out. You know, it's not the end of the world. And I think because I had such difficult issues very early, like you realize that like life is short and like some things are not that important. So if I have to lose a bit of money there, it's fine. Well, back if I hadn't gone through that and I hadn't lost tons of money early on, like I'd be so shit scared of these things, you know. So I'm grateful for every experience. I mean, I don't regret a single thing. Every single thing I've been through has taught me a lesson in some capacity.
Yeah. Now I always find that the the reality of our mortality is always like the best reality check in one of two ways. It's either the fact that it's like, oh, I'm gonna die one day, which means the fact that it's like I better take full like advantage of my life and actually make some good choices here and actually lean in. Like there's a healthy sense of urgency there instead of a fear-based one. But then also there's the other version is like I'm not dead. This isn't gonna kill me and I'm not gonna die. So I don't need to be so afraid at the same time. And it's kind of just like kind of remembering that point of yeah, it's a combination of taking it yeah, I'm losing out on the philosophy battle here, but I think the point is the combination I'm trying to make is it's the combination between not taking it too seriously, but also at the same time taking like our time here seriously as well.
Exactly. So, like I say, those lessons have helped me like on how I deal with things going forward. So, yeah, where we left off was that's what helped me pick myself up is knowing that like I was under less pressure now, and I wasn't in as much trouble as I thought I was. Of course, I was in huge shit, but like yeah, I had time and I had like a route I could follow to try and solve the issue.
What was that route?
Make money, make more money because I can pay people back. So yeah, that's literally what it all comes down to.
And how did you go about solving it? Like, what was the thing when you realized this is gonna help me get out of this?
So I mean, when I had that, I then kind of like thought, and maybe I was trying to go too big too quickly because like I'd never done these like big container deals. I was just always like air freighting food. So I was like, hold on, let me just take a step back. Let me try and build up to these bigger deals. And then I did like continue to do more of these smaller deals, just keep myself going. Saved up a bit more money, did a few more deals, etc., etc. But again, things weren't like all rosy. I now had all this debt that I had to pay off and pay these friends off. Luckily, with no timeline, and but I still needed to sustain myself and pay my bills. And that's where the first big opportunity came. Was I think that was like in 2017. So like say like just 2 years or a year and a half later. Or again, I don't know the exact timing of it, but Qatar was having a blockade imposed on them by the neighboring countries, and previously Qatar did all their own imports. I mean, they never did their own imports. They always imported from their neighbors. Like Qatar would get their fruit and veg from like Dubai or whatever. And now that they have this blockade on them, they were completely like isolated from the Saudis and the Dubais and their neighbors. So now they had to do their own imports. And I was watching the news one day, like 6 p.m., and I saw that this was happening. And the main thing they were concerned about was food security. And like they were showing people in like the supermarkets like panic buying because they didn't know how they were going to get food again. And I used like literally the last cents that I had to book the next available flight to Qatar because I was like, this is my make it or break it. And
So I just love the fact that you said lost cents instead of lost rands because there you're using both both senses of the word there. Your last bit of like actual sanity, and the last bit of
and like I don't use rands because it was literally like putting cents together. It was like,
yeah.
do I have like 5 rand hidden in this couch somewhere that I can put towards this trip? It was like the last of it.
But again, it's just like that's just the DNA of entrepreneurship in you. Is you see something on the news and it's like, oh, here's this disaster that's happening. You're like, there's a massive opportunity in that.
Exactly. And you have to take every opportunity. That's the thing. 99% of them are not going to result in anything. But if you catch the one that does, that could be a golden ticket.
But I think that's also again a huge difference between like people that are lucky and people that are successful, right? Is the fact that the people that are lucky will have there's a difference in taking advantage of an opportunity versus creating one. You didn't take advantage of an opportunity there. You created one based on the like just the way the context and situation was. No one gave you an offer, be like, hey, by the way, do you want to fly to Qatar? I can introduce you to this person. They need this, and I know you can do the job. And then it's like yeah, definitely I can do that. That's taking advantage of an opportunity.
For sure. Well
This
said.
this was you created your own luck here.
Yeah.
Oh, then there's another part of the story that was just like a whole different level of luck.
Yeah. So like I said, get to Qatar. I think I booked like 5 or 6 or 7 nights, can't remember. And like booked like this whatever hotel was there. And again, I want to stress this.
Did you book a return flight out of curiosity, or was it one way?
To be honest, I can't even remember. And and this was like before Qatar had any infrastructure. I want to state that because this helps with the story. Like people see Qatar now, they think of like a mini Dubai with skyscrapers and like all this infrastructure that the World Cup brought, but it was like a barren, like Middle Eastern desert. There was like not much.
Crazy. It's only 10 years as well, eh?
Yeah, well, I mean, they spent like 80 billion or something. I don't know the exact figure on like buildings. They literally built cities for the World Cup. I mean, when you have that sort of money, that's what you can do. But yeah, so got there and then same story. I'd done this before. So I was like, okay, just get there and then let's just like cold call and we'll find a customer somewhere. I've got faith in my ability. And I was in the lobby calling. And again, because Qatar wasn't like, no one went there on holiday. It like people now go there.
Yeah, especially now when they've got an embargo. It's like it wasn't a tourist destination to begin with, and now like with all these restrictions, it's even lesser.
Exactly. So I'm sitting in like the hotel lobby making calls, like sending emails, and like it's a small hotel. There's not many people there, and there's like a group of people, and like they can probably hear that I'm not from Qatar. I assume that's what happened because they were speaking Arabic. Like, who's this like brown English speaking person here? Like, what is he doing? It's like it's random, Like in normal circumstances, I wouldn't be there. No one with my demographic would be there at the time. And they ask like one of the gentlemen that comes to call me over, and like I'm sitting with them, and you can see they're all like Qatari, dressed in their attire, and like you can see like just by looking at them, they're like well-off people. And yeah, they started asking me some questions, and specifically the one guy that was asking me questions, and like I was like, no, I'm here from South Africa. I see you guys have this. Like he's like, no, I know South Africa. Whatever, I've been there. Whatever, whatever. So I was like, yeah, I have a fruit export business, and you guys need fruit, and that's why I'm here. And I think this guy saw like he was impressed because eventually, like with our relationship, he always made me like talk to his son and like tell his son about like business and whatever and whatever. I think it was just more than anything, he was just impressed like that I came like as a young man to their country to try and do business. And I think he wanted to like kind of help me. And he calls like his chauffeur or his driver, whatever you want to call it, and is like, "Please bring the car around." And he tells me, "I'm going to take you somewhere and I'm like going to help you." And we take a drive and we go to like this office block.
Sorry, I just want to unpack there before we even progress into that moment. It's like, was there not a part of it was like, this sounds too good to be true? Who the hell is this guy? And this guy's got a chauffeur. Like who? I mean, I don't know if you can share names or anything like that, but like, who's this person that's like suddenly?
Whenever people ask me and I said they laugh, but he was like a tier 3 sheikh. So like he's not ruling family of Qatar, but like he's up there. He's like the like ruling family's third cousin or whatever. And I mean it's not uncommon. I'd spent a decent amount of time in the Middle East doing like a little bit of business in Dubai for me to know how these things work. Like they don't drive themselves around like, you know, Emiratis, Qataris, Saudis, they don't really do that. They have chauffeurs, they have drivers. That's just how like the kind of culture is. Or at least that's what I saw from these business people that I dealt with. So, I mean, Qatar's a safe country. I think their like murder rate is like close to zero. So I wasn't too concerned about like any of that. So I was like, cool, this is like an opportunity. We'll go. Maybe he's going to take me somewhere. Nothing's going to come of it, but let's go for it. I've got nothing to lose. I've got time and like we're here to try and do business. And then as we driving, he's explaining, he's like, no, this is his friend, and his friend has like this food operating business and whatever and whatever. I didn't understand the scale of it either. And I remember we get there and we walk into the office.
Yeah, I can just imagine. It's usually like you'll brush shoulders with entrepreneurs and like chat, and we're like, oh yeah, I know a guy that can do this, and it's like, yeah, cool, small business. There's a tier 3 sheikh, and it's like, no, this guy owns the biggest business in the region.
Yeah, so he takes me there, and again, like Qatar, it's not like there's like nice fancy signs outside the building which has like the business name. So I really like didn't know much about what I was walking into, except that it was like something to do with food. And Sheikh gets in, greets his friend, like they have a nice hug and like laugh and how's the family, whatever. So I could see they were quite close. And the Sheikh tells this guy, and he's like, this is my new business partner from South Africa. I want you to meet him, and he sells fruit from South Africa. So obviously, the situation, whatever, whatever. Not in those exact words, but yeah. So speak to him and like give him some orders. So I mean, like I say, I know him like maybe an hour max, and he's like,
And yeah, and he introduces you as his business
I was
partner.
like, okay, cool. And then literally sat there for like 2-3 hours, like same story again, rinse and repeat, like learn what fruit do they want, when do they want it, what's the spec, what's the class, what's the packaging, what's the color, whatever, all the details. Have like a notebook. I actually still have the notebook somewhere. I was like, I'm going to frame it because like it was such a pivotal moment. And we're driving back then after the meeting, and like the Sheikh's all his bubbly self and whatever, and he's like I'm actually not that excited as I should be. I mean, he's just done my mission for me, and I think he's expecting me to be like somersaulting everywhere. And he's like, "What's wrong?" So I was like, "No, like I'm very grateful you've brought these opportunities, and I've got this huge order, but I don't know how I'm going to fulfill it. Like, keep in mind already, oh, like my mate's like $1 million, and I know I need upfront money to get the fruit from the farmers. I've already established that. So like, I don't know how I'm gonna like sort this out. And like, I'm explaining to him, like, I need to pay the farmers upfront, and he's trying to understand the business also, like, drive back. And he's like, don't worry, I'll come see you tomorrow. Like, let's see how we can make this work. Again, like, if you think of people like this, it's a monarchy, right? So they're very passionate and patriotic about the country. So he wants this to work as much as I do, because he knows that the country's in trouble, and they need food security. So he comes, I'll never forget, we exchange numbers and whatever. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make sure I'm up and ready by like 9. That's probably what time like he's going to get there. Maybe I'm going to be sitting for like an hour or two waiting for him, but he didn't give me a time. And I'm not going to like nag him to be like, what time are you coming? Like, give me an exact time. And I remember I woke up at like 7:30, and I already had like 15 missed calls from him. And he's like, I'm downstairs. And I was like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. I just woke up. I didn't know you were coming so early. So literally didn't shower, didn't do anything, just put on like whatever clothes, went down, and then spoke some more. Like, obviously he wanted to understand the dynamics of it and whatever and whatever. But long story short, I forgot. Like the day before, he was like, go figure out how much money you need. Like, go do some sums. And like I already had like some shipping rates, and I already knew the costing, and I had some like indicative pricing on fruit and whatever and whatever. Because again, I was like trading fruit, but not as big a way. And then when he comes, I'm like, I don't know the exact figure, but I was like, I need like $1 million to do this. And again, we spoke some more, whatever, whatever. He's like, I'm going to take you around. We jump in the car, we drive around, and like, he didn't give me an answer. And then as we drive, he's like, do you have a pen and paper? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, just like draw up something that says like, we're doing this together, and like, I'm giving you the money, and how is it going to work? And I was like, no, I can give you a percentage. Like, this is what I think we can do, whatever, whatever. For him, it wasn't about the money. I think if I told him I was going to give him like 0.1%, he would have done it anyways. But yeah, and then literally on a piece of paper, like, just wrote something down, did it. And he's like, okay, go back to South Africa, I'll send you the money. Obviously sent him my bank details, made an invoice, whatever, whatever. And then got back to South Africa, and in like a couple of days I had the money. He had given me all the money I needed. And that was the first big thing, because then I could like really, and he funded all the deals to Qatar after that. And there was a lot of business that was done then, and he gave me the money. So my main issue of funding was solved. Then I could really get to it. And then also, because no one ever exported to Qatar, it was exciting for the farmers also, because like it was a new country for them. So now I'm also doing something different. I'm not doing like what the other exporters are doing. Plus I'm paying them well, and I've got enough money to do it. Plus I'm kind of name dropping that like this Sheikh is like in it with me. So that really like helped open doors and let the business start flowing. So that was the first big break that I had. Yeah.
Dude, the one thing that's just clicked for me as a reinforcement is I'm very grateful that I get to work from home, and I've got like a home office and like a really nice desk from my grandfather and like really nice setup. But I'm actually kind of shooting myself in the foot as an entrepreneur, because like the whole point of your story is like the deals get done in relationships. Business is made on relationships. I'm not gonna be able to make relationships sitting behind my computer at home, right? I've got to be in places where there's other people, where I like, and that's the point of creating opportunity versus taking advantage of opportunity. Even for me right now, is I have no excuse but to take advantage of opportunity, because I'm not in spaces that can create them for me. Um, and like I'm definitely like I've been contemplating going and working from like Innovation City or a co-working space for a while. After this conversation, I'm definitely doing that.
I'm glad I inspired you. But I mean, I also work from home, and like I tell my wife all the time, and that's part of the reason I joined like Civitas, was like, I'm at home the whole day working. There's days I don't leave my front door, literally, because I'm just working so hard, and I'm in my office at home behind a desk. And I also think to myself, how many opportunities am I losing out on because I'm not there? Yes, I do business trips to these countries, and I end up meeting people, and like, like, I'm just mentioning this because you still have to take opportunities, but like, we went on honeymoon to the Maldives. The first thing I did when I got there was, can I speak to your head chef? And Where are you getting your feet from? Okay, this is the process. Cool, change business cards, whatever, whatever. Like, yes, I'll still take these opportunities and like that's always number one goal. But I also felt
The
like,
ABCs of entrepreneurship, eh?
yeah,
Always be closing.
exactly. So then, but same thing, and that's why I was like, I told my wife, I was like, after I did the talk at Civitas, I was like, I actually would love to join because it means once a week, more or less, I'm gonna leave the house, I'm gonna network. If something comes of it, great. If nothing comes of it, it's also fine. But I'm actually just getting out the flipping house. Like that's what it is. So I agree completely, and yeah, I'm also trying to figure it out. I was also like contemplating. I was like, some days I should just go to a coffee shop and work there, just to be out. And maybe you bump into someone, maybe someone hears you talking, maybe you hear someone else talking. But yeah, I would definitely suggest it. So I'm happy to have inspired you.
Well, 100%, man. I think it's again, it's the entrepreneurship is made on opportunity, right? And the point is like I am my most productive when I'm at home, right? Because I have no distractions, there's no noise around me, and I'm a very social person, so I would like interacting with people. So like I'm very productive and I get a lot done. But is it the right productivity? Like, am I getting the right things done? Is it stuff that's actually going to move the needle and open the door? Because the stuff that's ever moved the needle for me has been because of the relationships that I've had and the people that I've met in person.
Yeah. So
And so it's actually just now a bit of a no-brainer,
that answers the question.
when I think about it.
That answers
Yeah.
the question. And I think you need the balance, right? So maybe you should set time for you to be working somewhere else. And yes, maybe your productivity is not that high, but you're getting exposed to different things.
Yeah.
Um, I can't remember. It was an autobiography. I read a snippet of. I think it was Sir Alex Ferguson or something, and he was like, the key was to just get out and get moving and get hustling. And I did a lot of like in my early days. I had a tiny shitty apartment, so I had to just like I didn't want to be there, so I was always like on the move. So yeah, I think that answers your question. I think it's finding the balance. So maybe have your hours at home which are productive, and then also have like the rest where it's out there.
Yeah, it'll be like 2 or 3 days a week, but the way I've already starting to frame it in my head is it's like, okay, cool. Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, I fly to Qatar. Wednesdays and Fridays, I work from home. And I'm gonna make the opportunities happen. Yeah, I just love this pivotal moment of how things start taking off. And yeah, I guess what was the next like 1 month, 3, 6, 12, 18? What was that chapter like? Because now I mean, you've got like one core markets that you're working in now. You've got Qatar. You've got someone who's providing the financing and the funding, so that's kind of solved. You bringing the supply, so it's like the business itself is like now quite simple because you've got the relationships, you've got the tracks, you've got some of the biggest distributors there, or the biggest off takers and purchasers, and now I've got the suppliers here and I've got the finance here. Um, must have been a very exciting time for you.
Yeah, it was exciting, but I mean, it's never that simple or that easy. I spoke about it again. I was like one of the first containers we did to Qatar. The Sheikh was like I should be there for it, and I agreed with him. And it was peaches, and like they're quite sensitive. So I mentioned this at Civitas. I came to Qatar, and the container was meant to arrive at this warehouse at like 5 p.m. So I went there, took like a taxi there. Again, I stayed rural Qatar just so people understand. And this was like 45 minutes out from Doha, which is the capital. And take a taxi there, and I'm waiting from 5 o'clock, and truck's not there, truck's not there, truck's not there, no food, anything. Sat there till like 3 in the morning. Eventually, the truck comes, we offload it, we check that everything's okay. Like, great, this is a win, like it's working. And like I'm on this huge high and I'm like celebrating and I'm like, okay, cool guys, like nice to meet all of you. I'm happy it's arrived, like sell the fruit well, enjoy. And then it's time to leave. And I'm like in rural Qatar in this industrial area and there's no taxis. And it's like 4 in the morning and I'm like, fuck, I need to get back to the hotel. And there's no Uber at the time or anything. And I'm like, shit, what do I do now? And I'm like, okay, let me just walk a bit, try to get to like a main road. Maybe I'm going to see some taxis there. And there's nothing. So I just kept walking. So I walked for like 3 hours or whatever it was. Can't remember the exact time. And then remember getting to like Doha, the city center, like at breakfast time, like at 9 a.m. And I was like, okay, finally I'm here. Like I can eat now. But like no one knows like the hardships of those stories, like literally having to walk like in this barren like place for like 5 hours just to get back because there was no infrastructure there at the time. So there was a lot of those sort of challenges, like just getting there. But from then, because most of the core issues of the business was solved, the funding, getting in with farmers, so getting access to more fruit, then it was all about growth and okay, cool. How can I find more customers? So, I mean, things weren't the easiest because yes, I had my own bills. Yes, I was making some money with the Sheikh, but a lot of it went to paying the bills and also to uh,
Paying your debt.
paying my debt off. Exactly. So, like one of the other things I did was we went to there's like a fruit conference, if I can call it that, or like a trade show in Germany, and I was like, I need to go there because that's where all the fruit people in the world are going to be. So I went to Berlin, and also there I managed to book my ticket and book my hotel, but I had 3 grand total to like spend taxis, food, everything. Now, good luck going to Germany for 1 week with 3,000 rand. And I remember I went to like the trade show the first day, and like I stayed not even like like it was like this apart hotel, like super shitty. It was all I could afford at the time. So it's not like breakfast at the hotel or anything luxurious like that. So I get to the trade show and I'm like, okay, if there's like a croissant stand, let me like get something to eat. And I go there, and like one croissant, like at the time was expensive, was like $50. And I was like, I only have like 3 grand. Obviously, you're at these trade shows, they're gonna try and like overprice everything. And I was like, fuck that, I'm just gonna starve because I'm not gonna pay. Like, I don't have enough money to like see me through the week if I'm gonna be spending like $50 on a croissant, then I need to eat later, you know? So it wasn't all just easy. There was just like continuous sacrifices like all the time. Like,
So, sorry, immediately when you said what you said there, there was a piece of wisdom I got from a very unlikely source of Jimmy Carr, of all people. When someone in the middle of a show asked him, "Is like, what's your advice for people in their life?" And he was like, "Can you be more specific with the question?" And the guy was like, "No." It's like, "What's your advice?" And he said 2 words: prioritize later. And my first interpretation of that was it's like, okay, you must like later you can prioritize, so enjoy the moment. But actually, what he meant was prioritize later, as in like, and my interpretation of what you said there is that by prioritizing later, it means I'm not gonna eat right now, but it's gonna make sure that I'm able to eat continuously then. And it's just an extreme example of choosing not to eat. But that's the simple point is I'm prioritizing later.
yeah, that's 100% spot on. I mean, I remember also like arriving in Qatar for that trip at the airport, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm so thirsty." And then like water at the airport is like $50, and I was like, "There's no chance. I can't afford to pay 50 rand for water. It's not gonna happen." So
No, dude, I'm also just thinking about the story about like the 50 rand croissants and like choosing to starve. And some people are like, oh no, I'm going to do my intermittent fasting in order to enhance my productivity now and do all these things. And it's like, you're both skipping breakfast, but for very different reasons.
I mean, now I intermittent fast. I'm on a example, but yeah, it wasn't all sunshine, is what I'm saying. After that, like there were still challenges, of course, like in any business. But the point from there was like that allowed me to then set up the stage for growth. And I mean, there was other personal stuff I was going through and whatever. But yeah, that just allowed me to now say, look, I've got a proper business that I can grow. And yeah, I think that was like the catalyst that reached till today, where, like I said, we export to like 48 countries now. We have quite a few new ones this year, so I need to recount. But like I said, it's been such a busy year. I haven't been able to do that.
Yeah, so for the record, again, we skipped a couple steps here because right now it's like, okay, well, the theme I'm seeing so far is it's like, let me put myself in a place where I can create an opportunity. You did that first with Qatar. You created that opportunity. You've got this foundations of the business now really running. Now it's like, okay, this trade show in Berlin, and then now you're exporting to over 48 countries. What happened in Berlin? And please tell me that you got a croissant at the end of the day.
I can't remember, but yeah, I mean, I'm at the biggest fruit trade show in the world. So me and my hustling ability, we get to work, and I just start having conversations with everyone, even the wall, just going wild and just like making the most of it and speaking to people and like getting more contacts and meeting people from a whole lot of different countries. And that's also when I started getting a little bit of media attention. So people started reaching out to me, people, friends of friends saw that I was in the business and then said, hey, I've got this contact here and I've got that there. And then, just all the pieces just started coming together. And then step by step, you grow it and you start getting more fruit and then supplying more and more markets. And I mean, that's like how it is today, Um, someone like a customer in Nepal, it's a new country for us this year, was in India and he saw my fruit box in India and he thought my fruit was good quality. And he's like, I'd love to bring this to Nepal. So he reaches out on the website and he's like, can you send your fruit to Nepal? So we find a way to do it. So yeah, if you're going to hike Everest anytime soon, you'll be eating some of my oranges on the way there. So it's just,
So you say that close enough. I was actually in the Himalayas at the end of June. I was in North India. I was in Ladakh. So I mean, I was pretty close.
we just missed it. So that's what it is. It's just about like then it was just all about getting out there and using now my ability with less pressure. So I think it really allowed me to flourish because for the most part, my bills are paid. Yes, I still had some personal issues and family issues and whatever, but for the most part, the bills are paid and the debt's getting paid slowly. So like I'm less stressed and like now I can actually focus on my craft, which is hustling and making shit happen.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm always thinking here in terms of what are the transferable lessons onto other entrepreneurs, and I think one like there's some reality checks and like just honest conversations here to a lot of founders, that produce their own product, right? Like even for us, it's like if I provide a service and facilitation and advisory, like helping people develop their strategy for their business. It's still the fact that like I am the product at the end of the day, or at least what's in my head, and like there's a lot more to it than that. But like at its simplicity, I am the product.
Yeah.
I think that like when you're in your space, it's not your product, but it's your customer. So I think there's the point of it, you're able to kind of create the deal, and it's like any sale, any deal is something that you can then create the product from afterwards, and so that hustling can develop and grow. And I just want to, out of like honesty, but also respect to a lot of founders, is like when you are producing your own product, when you're manufacturing, or you are selling or developing salt or coffee, or you are now developing software as well. There's a challenge of all these hats afterwards. Like I need to work on the product. That's not quite good enough. It needs to get that point, etc. And so there's this tough balance between acknowledging that and the complexities of this business that you're building, but also at the same time is just simplifying it as like, go just find some customers to make a deal with, and then make sure there's a close enough relationship that you have with them that you can keep them satisfied. Like go with them, make sure that they're happy, and then just build some momentum. Like there's a certain level of uh it's not that complicated, right?
Yeah, like I say, you just for me it comes down to a simple thing, which is just take your chances. That's what it is. If you don't play the lotto, you'll never win. So your odds might be low, but there's a chance of getting there. And again, it wasn't all that straightforward. So I'll tell you another story. I didn't actually mention this at Civitas, but I should have, and you might like it. Is in 2020, just after I got married, again, things were okay, bills were getting paid, but like now I have a new human to look after in essence, and like I knew everything was kind of going to be like doubled. I'd move into a nicer apartment.
So you're talking about your wife, or you're talking about your child?
No, my wife. So I just gotten married, and like culturally, like I'm the breadwinner. I need to support her. She was still studying. I'd moved into a nicer apartment, not the shitty one that I was in for that long period of time because like obviously I have a wife now. So I'm like, okay, shit, I need more money. And like Riyp was doing okay. Like again, it was paying the bills, but there wasn't really much for like extra. So I thought about it and I was like, okay, I need some security because again, it's also seasonal business. Some years are good, some seasons good, some are not so good. And now if it's me and I'm having a shit year, it's fine. I'll just starve or like not go out or whatever just to make sure I survive through that year. But now again, I'm looking after someone. So I can't just do what I've been doing. So I'm like, I need something a bit more stable. So I was like, let me kill two birds here with this stone. Let me get a job for two reasons. A, it gives me a bit of extra income and it allows me to have like a certain stability in financial terms. And B, let me get a job at an American tech company because tech companies are scaling like very fast with very little resources. And I'm in that position.
Build one so many times.
Yeah, I need to scale this fruit business, although it's completely different, fruit and technology, like complete opposite ends of the spectrum. but there's lessons I could learn from a tech company. So I go to LinkedIn and I'm searching and I find like a remote job, but it actually wasn't remote. They had an office in Cape Town. I find a job and it was a company based in the US. And luckily, they give me the job as a sales manager, if you want to call it. And I worked there for 18 months and it was good because,
Whilst you've still got this fruit business
yeah,
with
yeah,
like trade relationships in Qatar and like all over the world now.
yeah, spot on. So when I tell you,
How many hours a day do you work and did you work?
I think then I was working, not even an exaggeration, like 18, 19 hours a day. Like earlier you asked me what I ate for breakfast and I was like, no, I'm fasting. And you're like, wasn't it Ramadan not long ago? I used to have to break my fast. So keep in mind, I haven't eaten the whole day while taking meetings for this company because I just didn't have time. So literally, we'd be in online meetings with clients, and I'd be like, do you mind giving me 30 seconds? I'm going to put the camera off. I'm going to put the mic off just so I can eat something. Do that and straight back on. And I did that for 18 months, worked, grew the company, had a record year that year, actually tripled from the year before, 300% from the year before, while having the full time job with this company and being married and having like extra responsibilities there. And the answer was just like super hectic, but it worked. Learned what I needed to learn. Luckily, the business tripled that year, so it was good. So whatever I earned from that business, I literally went and bought my first coffee shop because I was like, I've got all this additional income. Every month I saved it. I actually didn't have to use it, so I was like, cool. There's my down payment for my coffee shop. That was where I got involved with coffee franchises, and yeah, I learned so much in that 18 months that after the 18 months, I was like, okay, I don't need it for financial security anymore. And I've
What did you learn? So you walked into that already extremely skilled at sales. Yeah, so I'm curious to know what is that you learned in that 18-month period that you've been able to transfer.
So it was more about systems because again, I had never come from a corporate background or anything of the sort. So although it was a tech company and a startup, it was literally a startup with no clients when I was there. I was the third employee. Was I just learned how to put systems in place, but also the mentality of like the startup culture on growth. I mean, if I think hard enough about it, I could probably like write it down. But I think it was just being in that culture and with those founders. And like my boss in that company was like a third time founder. He had founded an exit. I actually read the other day that he exited out of that company after 3 years. So it was just like that meant that mentality and having him as like a little bit of a mentor and learning how he's doing things and what he's doing to get there and how he implements certain things and how he strategizes on growth. And it also, I think, refined my sales skills even more because, yes, at the time I was quite focused on selling fruit, but now I'm selling a piece of technology and I was selling it to like universities. And like selling stuff to universities is probably the hardest sell you'll ever have because they've got a budget and like implementing new technological systems is really not their top priority. So, like, yeah, I think I was also getting battered with rejections every day. There was lessons in that from selling to them. So yeah, I did that for that 18 months, learned from them, and then could come back to Riyp. Riyp was doing well at the time, and then I said, "Cool, now we can really go for it." And then ever since then, I mean, that was like 21, 22, halfway through 2022 in 2025 years. So 2.5 years since then, we've just had exponential growth. So it's like 300%, 100%, 200%. This year again, we're on 300% growth. So yeah, it's been good.
That is nuts, man. Okay, well, I mean, share some of your wisdom here. Like, what are some of the systems that you've implemented in Ripe that's allowed you to? Because like the crazy thing is, it's like you're working the exact same amount of time that you always have, but like you are exponentially growing and scaling. So that can only really come down to systems and maximizing the productivity of that time. And you're in your busiest season ever, and you're still having this conversation with me right now.
Yeah. So
So clearly, you're doing something pretty damn well.
so that's where I think a bit of the Riyp IP comes in here. Is what I've learned and what I've built to allow me to export to 48 countries and export millions of cartons of fruit with it just being me. Is using those systems that I've learned and built. And again, that's kind of the IP, which is unique to Riyp, you know.
Any of that IP you're willing to share with other founders who want to also maybe be half as productive as you?
So I think there's a lot of it on the business side. Yes. How much I can share about it, I'll have to think about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just about like I think how I convert clients, how I make sure from like that initial conversation of either me reaching out, how I would reach out to new clients. So now like a lot of them are approaching me, but I also am like, okay, cool. I love to export to Malaysia. Let me see how I can find clients there. And then I'm using kind of the systems and the strategies, some of it which I learned in this job, but refined it a bit to be more like suited to fruit. And yeah, that I mean is like very strong IP. But there's no like, it's, I don't know how to explain it, but there's no particular thing, or I can't like write it down to say this is exactly what it was, you know? I don't know if it was a mindset shift or the culture shift, but it was all of that together. It was some skills I learned from an experienced founder. It was the mindset that he had and the culture that we had in this tech startup that I was like, let me learn from. It was a couple of the programs that he used. So it's like a combination of all of that I said, let me kind of take this, adjust it for my business, which is the fruit business, and then implement. And that's what I've been doing. But a lot of it, I think, is like a lot of people think to be successful in the business needs X, Y, Z. And that's true. But I also think on the personal side, you need to be having your shit together as a human being also to allow more productivity, make sure you're working at the best of your ability. You know, there's so many things I do every day that I think allow me to be as productive as humanly possible. So it's a combination of the two.
One thing I love about doing this is obviously learning from everyone that I speak to, but then also just like I love talking to people and having my perspective affected and always thinking about myself and how I could be leveling up, because that's exactly what I heard from you about having worked at the tech business, is that it's not this one thing, but by being there, you've leveled up. And it's the small things that compound over time. Um, sure. Yeah, I'm excited to do this again. Maybe not right now. Maybe in a while when you've converted that IP into a business and you've hired some people. And what does that next chapter look like? But
Yeah. And
I think for now, there's
next time we
yeah,
need to speak about the personal hacks that, yeah, we can save that for.
yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, this happens to me every time I do this. We get into such depth, and there's so many other things there that we don't really talk about. But yeah, actually, I'd love to. One thing I recommend is like that would blow your personal brand up is that if you actually just release like some content like a couple days a week, or maybe even one post a week or a month, just on this like what are the things and the hacks that you do to be as productive as you are. So actually, on that, sorry, just give me like two or three. I can't leave the audience hanging like that. Like, what are some of these? Everyone loves a hack, right? So what are some hacks you
I
have?
don't know if it's a hack or just thinking logically and smartly, if that's a word. But I mean, just to give some background. So I obviously run a Riyp alone, which is like a largish business, completely alone, and we export to all these countries. I also have a postnet business where I've got 3 postnets. I also have a coffee business, which is like 2 coffee shops. I also have a property company with a mate of mine. And yes, I have partners in these businesses, but there's still work that goes into it. So keep in mind, I'm doing all of that. At the same time, like I have a family, I have a young daughter. They get time from me, they get sufficient time. So I only have a certain amount of hours in the day. So I have to make sure that every hour is allocated. My family, my friends, my wife, they hate it because like I can tell you what I'm doing next week at a certain time. And they all like, let's go with the flow, whatever. And I'm like, I can't because my flow needs to be specified to certain tasks. So I think I overplan like everything, like literally everything is overplanned. For example, like on a Thursday, and my wife absolutely hates this, is I sit with her, I bring my laptop to her, and I'm like, cool, we've got a spreadsheet called menu with like 200 tabs, and it's got broken down into breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, whatever, whatever. And I'm like, cool, what are we eating next week, Monday to Friday? And we sit and we talk about it and we allocate things. And like I say, she gets very pissed off about it. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Now that decision making part of my life is over. I don't need to think about what I'm eating today because it's already planned. Then, okay, cool. We do this on a Thursday. The Friday, we go grocery shopping. So, based off the menu, I do my grocery list. And Friday, I buy everything. If I have time on the weekend, I'll do a bit of meal preps. Okay, I think we cook like 50-50 in this household. Like, I cook half the meals, she cooks half the meals. I don't do it because she doesn't want to, whatever. I just enjoy cooking. For me, it's like my release. Like at the end of a busy day, if I cook a bit, it's like it lets my mind like just be a bit distracted. And like then I'm prepared. So that's one big thing out of the day which takes time, which is eating and cooking and whatever. That's already sorted. But I do that like with everything, like literally everything you can possibly think of is planned in a spreadsheet somewhere. Like again, my friends always laugh at me because like someone will ask a question and they're like, just ask Uzair, he probably has a spreadsheet for it. And chances I do, so I think like just planning way, way, way in advance. Like even when we book holidays, it's like the second I can book, which is like at a 12-month period with some airlines, it's already booked. Like, so if I want to travel like next year, December, this December, 1 December, I'm already booking the tickets. It's there, it's planned. I don't need to think about it. I've already thought about it. My mind is now free to move on to something else. So again, everything in my life is like that, like literally every single thing.
I think that yeah, I also just love that because what's the importance of what is it that you do in your like your secret source of success, and I'd say it's responsiveness and availability to relationships and deal making. And so with that is the decisions required and my ability to be able to respond means that I also need to free myself up in terms of time and also thinking. So all the stuff that's not related to the things that I do best and that's actually making me successful, how can I sit and structure the time so I make all the decisions in one go? And so I don't have to make like sporadic decisions about that. So the only thing I have to think about in this time is the stuff that I do best.
Spot on. That's literally exactly it. If you can eliminate these nitty-gritty decisions, your mind, your time, everything is free for the shit that counts.
Yeah. And do you go as far as the point of wearing the same thing every day as well? So you don't have to wake up and decide what you're wearing.
Honestly, not exactly, but very similar because I work from home. So, like, I have like 5 outfits which just go in rotation. And unless I'm going for a meeting, then I've got like 5 meeting outfits. But, like, when I'm at home and I'm not leaving the house, it's the same, like, home leisure wear that I just wear, like, on repeat. It's just cycled. So,
Got you.
if it's only the weekend where it comes, and then I'm like, okay, now I need to think about what I want to wear. But then it's like dress to the occasion. But I've got like uniforms, if I can call it that. So again, decision making eliminated because the week I know what I'm wearing. If there's a meeting within the week, it's one of 5 things. And if I'm going out on the weekend, if it's a casual event, it's one of 5 outfits. If it's a formal event, it's one of 5 outfits. So it's already done.
Yeah, dude, thank you. That's it's again another way of thinking differently about things and maximizing the time that you've got and like sure, and multiple layers of how I could think about that statement. Um, but yeah, I think just to bring it back down to your journey and where we're at now, like what does the next like 6 to 18 months look like for you and for your businesses?
So I'm at a point where I don't know what the answer to that is. Obviously, I want to keep the growth on the same trajectory with the same kind of traditional business, but there's also vertical and horizontal integrations I could be looking to make. Maybe being invested in a farm or in a pack house or in cold storage. Maybe so that would be the vertical integrations. Maybe adding fresh fish or nuts or something else into my basket. That might be the horizontal integrations. So obviously getting to more countries, doing more volume into those countries. Even if I say supply a certain country, but I'm supplying wholesale there, I would like to start supplying the retail there or supplying hospitality there or catering there. So there's the traditional growth, but then, like I said, there's also the vertical and the horizontal growth, which I'll look at.
Are there any other like postnets, other coffee shops, any other kinds of businesses, or you being you, if the opportunity arises, you'll see?
Yeah, so I think on the Postnet and the coffee shop business, like if new sites become available, it's a franchise business. It's nice because it's kind of plug and play. Then definitely I'll expand there. I'm not like actively looking, or maybe a little bit I am, but if another franchise is definitely on the cards, again, if the opportunity presents itself, I spoke in Civitas about how I found the coffee shop business. So my eyes and ears are always open, so when the opportunity comes, I'll take it. And if it makes sense for what I'm trying to do and the business portfolio I'm trying to build, then for sure, I'll definitely consider it. So that's why I say I don't really have a straight answer right now. I'm just kind of taking it day by day with an idea of what's to come, but there's no like plan on paper right now.
Fair enough. Uzair, what is the one question that I haven't asked you that I should have asked you that you'd like to answer now?
Why? So yeah, why do I do everything? Why am I trying to grow all these businesses? And the reason for that is it's quite simply, and maybe it's cliche to say, but it's generational wealth. So as I've explained, like I've had a difficult financial upbringing, and I feel like I haven't had certain opportunities and experiences that people who are maybe more financially secure could have had. Again, by no means am I ungrateful for what I've experienced. There were good times and bad, but for me, I just wouldn't want anyone in my family or any other family to go through a time where they didn't know what they were going to eat or how they were going to pay the bills. And I mean, like, I support both my parents now to a certain extent financially. And like, I know their struggles also. And like, every one of us, or most of us, can relate to some sort of financial issue or financial struggle. And I just want to make sure that I'm doing the most I can do for my future generations to make sure that they never go through that. So that's the reason why I do what I do. Because a lot of people ask me, like, when is enough? Um, like, the car I drive is a Polo, like the most basic Polo you can find. And like, I love cars. I actually have a huge passion for them. And my friends always like, you have the money, why don't you just go buy a nice car? And I'm like, no, because I need to build, and like I can use that money better elsewhere. And then they ask me, but when is enough? When have you built enough to say that, cool, you can actually enjoy it and do what you love and go buy a X million rand car? I don't know when is enough. Maybe one day I'm gonna come across a listing and it's gonna be the one I want and take it. Yeah, but yeah, that's the question was why, and that's the answer.
I think but even in that answer to your friends of when it's enough is it's like, it's not about when it's enough. It's about the fact that I'm still prioritizing later. And it's like when I'm at a point when I can buy a nice car while still prioritizing later, then I'll buy that car. I can't tell you when that's going to be, but like, I'll know it when I'm there.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Uzair, dude, this was epic. Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom and your story on the Founder Files. Yeah, I can't wait to see the engagement on this, because I imagine loads of people are going to be inspired too. Yeah, thank you for being here.
Again, thanks for having me, and yeah, let's catch up again, and we can do another one, hopefully with some more interesting stories for you.
100%. Yo, what a man, and what a story. I don't know about you, but I'm incredibly humbled. I'm incredibly inspired right now. I definitely want to be more productive and more focused, but yeah, I don't really have any hacks for you, but I do have some insights. And you probably heard me talk about this earlier. I'm going to talk about it again now. The Founder Roadmap, right? It's something that I've built just for you, based off everyone that I've worked with, everyone I've spoken to, and the methodology that we use in our business. And the whole point of it is so that you can figure out those gaps between good and great in your business and your scaling journey, and just spot some blind spots that you might not have known that was there, or get some validation that you're kind of on the right track. It's really been benchmarked around the successes that we've seen, and just some practical next moves around what it is you can actually do about it to get to the next step, get to the next stage, and have a little bit less chaos in your business, a little bit more freedom, and a bit more focus. So if you want something that's going to take you a couple minutes to be able to complete, right? If you've got 15 minutes for something that's probably going to add value to you, even if it's validating, here's the link, right? roadmap.metavolve.co. Click in the description below. Yeah, there's no email, there's no sign up. It's totally free, right? The only thing that I ask for exchange is if you enjoyed it or you didn't enjoy it, give me feedback, right? Want to totally improve this. And that's pretty much it. Let me know. So yeah, as a heartfelt thank you from me. Until next time, keep building, keep learning, and keep telling your story. Cheers.